we've talked quite a bit about, through many of the videos in the past, as you would know, the focus on the surname. That's only really part of the message of understanding regarding being attached to the system. That's just you'd have to have a tag surname in order to be a member of legal satanic society anyway. So, but the key thing is, who's running all this? Well, we've got the unholy Roman Catholic Church and their popish Caesar, who's still in charge of his own little sovereignty there under the synagogue of Satan. But the key thing when we look at what is stated by them, they're not hiding anything, and that's the interesting thing. He wears a pagan Babylonian fish god hat, and I don't know how people miss that, but and then he goes out on the mass and he does a cross after he's wearing a cross to show he's double crossing you. But people, they don't see these obvious mockery signals of what they're up to. And so Pope Francis has been pretty straightforward. I'm going to make the statement that anybody who's ever been implied to be registered into the system has actually been implied to be under a social contract with the Vatican. They've been framed into that system under a universal system. So, this is a standard statement of birth record. This one's out of Ontario. We even like to abbreviate the postal code for Ontario now and make it definitely Babylonish, pagan, under the city of On, because ON stands for the head office of where Babylonian pagan worship and Baal worship was done. So definitely, if people are saying they're very proud to be Canadians and then they're acting as Christians, they should really think twice. So the Vatican, though, using this framework, as you see a frame, he basically is obviously stated the fact that this is the formula they're using, though he maybe didn't come out in a direct way as most people would think. So I'm reading out of the Pope Francis General Audience at St. Peter's Square, Wednesday, June 25th, 2014. And this is basically the printed out transcript from their Vatican website. And it says, he quotes, Pope Francis says, "We are not isolated, and we are not Christians on an individual basis. Each one of us, each one on his or her own. No, our Christian identity is to belong. We are Christians because we belong to the church. It is like a last name. If the first name is I am Christian, the last name is I belong to the church." Now let's take a look at what he just said there. First, he's using that pagan terminology, church, which unfortunately the translators of the King James Bible used also, but it is ecclesia, so ecclesia, which means to congregate. It doesn't mean a man-made building. And if we followed and researched scripture, we would know that God doesn't now reside in a man-made building. You are now the temple of God, where God dwells. So this is definitely erroneous, and he quotes it twice. So he says it is like a last name. If the first name is I am Christian, the last name is I belong to the church. And church means a pagan temple, a kirk. It has nothing to do with the ecclesia translation, though all those that are branches of the Church of England and the unholy Roman Empire of the Vatican are also using that terminology. So you'd be hard-pressed to find any Christian religious organization that's not using that terminology for their building or referring to it as such. Again, he states it later in his speech. He says, "There are those who believe they can maintain a personal and direct immediate relationship with Jesus Christ outside the communion and mediation of the church, the pagan temple." He says, "Remember this well. To be a Christian means belonging to the church. The first name is Christian, the last name is belonging to the church." So I can tell you straight off, your last name on any document you fill out belongs to the Vatican. Don't misunderstand these words. They're running the whole scope of the entire worldwide legal monetary collection plate.